Hello, my friends. Welcome to Lean and Clean. I am fitness chef Christine, and have an honored guest today. Her name is Janie J, and she has an amazing story. Stick around because you're really going to love this. It's a story of hope and just really conquering things. So, Janie, take it away. Tell us about your story.
Okay, thank you, Christine. So my name is Janie J. I'm a self-published author. I have 5 books so far and one compilation book, which means I wrote one chapter, and that book was an international bestseller. And I'm also a spirit medium, and I know that sounds strange maybe to some viewers, so I'll explain more of that. But that too was part of my journey. So what happened to me is when I was 60, my husband of 35 years decided to leave. And I didn't realize it was going to be such a dramatic change to my life. But it gave me a chance to reflect on my life. And I realized I really wasn't living the life I wanted. I was working 3 jobs. I was taking all the care of the house and the bills and just everything. And it was too overwhelming. There was no time left for fun or travel or even a minute to myself. So I, luckily, right before he left, 2 weeks before, I had started a practice of reading for 15 minutes in the morning. And it wasn't anything for work because at that time I was a brand new real estate broker. And that in itself was something that was quite different. So I spent my time 15 minutes a day, and I just said, I've been doing life like society says, and it's not working for me. What am I going to do? I'm going to fix something. I'm going to start spending just 15 minutes a day doing something for me. That was reading a book about intuition. And little did I know that practice was going to lead to meditation, spiritual awakening, and on. But I was really glad I had that in place. Anyway, so I kept saying, I don't like my life like this. I want to fix it. So what do I have to do? And I spent time every day trying to figure that out. And of course, I'd read books or listen to podcasts and things like that. But eventually, what happened was I was driving and I didn't know what it was at the time. I got what's called a download, divine download of guidance on all the steps I needed to take to improve my life. I pulled over to the side of the road and I wrote them down. It took about 40 minutes. And I thought, these are really good things. So I go, not only am I going to implement them, because a lot of the stuff I'd already started to do, but I'm going to let other women know because, gosh, I didn't know. And I had to spend all this time figuring it out. Maybe there's other people. So I started posting one tip a week on social media. And my friends started reading it and they were telling others and saying, oh, did you read what Janie put this week? And what words of wisdom? People were interested. So when I got done with that, I decided to write a book about live the life you have imagined, which is simple ways to start living your best life. It's about 30 steps.
And where can they
And
find the book? Where is the book
they
on
can find it
Amazon?
on Amazon. It's under Janie Jerkovich. And they can also go to my website, janiej.net/store. And then you can buy all my books there.
And about
But anyway,
how, I'm sorry, how clear were the messages? Did you get a specific message or did you just
yes, it just went on and on. And I was like, I can't remember all this. So I pulled over to the road. It's things like, and it's stuff we know, but nobody's doing it. If your life is in chaos and you're stuck, you're not doing this stuff. So it's a good reminder. But for me, it put everything in perspective. And I put the most important things first in the book. And to me, the first thing was sleep. Because when my ex left, I realized that had been sleep deprived for 20 years, and you cannot make good decisions from that.
absolutely?
So I didn't get the words like how to write the chapter. It was just the topics: get enough sleep, eat healthy, get some exercise, meditate, spend time with friends, spend time outside, things like that. And it was clearly stuff I wasn't doing. Anyway, so I wrote that book, and then my marketing person said you need to have a journal to go with it so that people can track their progress, because you don't always realize how much progress you've made unless you've written it down and you can refer back to it.
Right.
And it encourages you to keep moving. So what I recommend is that people read one chapter at a time. They're really short and you get the point, and then try to practice that for a week and start gauging how you're doing. And then once you've got that mastered, then go to the next one and so forth. You do not read the book and go, oh, okay, now I've read it and that's the end of it. No, you have to read it and actually absorb it into your habits and your daily routine.
Right. Got to get that action.
And yes, you have to put some action. It's not all hoping and wishing. And then I decided to write a third book called Single in 60. And that's also available on my website, janiej.net/store. And that is about my personal journey of getting used to being alone and doing the things that my former husband did, mow the lawn and stuff like that. And that may not sound like much, but I live on a big piece of property. So there's a lot of maintenance and a lot of yard work and
That sounds
a lot of things. Yeah, there's tons of things. So and when it's all left to you and you have limited resources, some of the stuff you have to figure out how to do it. So I would call it like, it's like Irma Bombeck. I'm making fun of myself. It's supposed to be humorous. But at the same time, it shows other women or even just a general reader that you can overcome obstacles. It just takes some determination. You just have to keep trying and figure out what works. And I've even had that one. I hired someone to make a movie trailer, which is just a 2-minute snippet of what a movie might look like. So I'm hoping if anybody's listening and wants to make a movie, contact me. And I also had someone else develop a movie script. So that my life was moving along like that. And I was sitting every day for guidance because when I started that intuition book, then a friend gave me another book to read, Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks. And that started opening up a whole new spiritual world that I was not familiar with. And I learned about that when we sit and we're quiet and we can calm ourselves, then we're able to tap into wisdom. And I was hearing voices that were telling me things to do. And I didn't know that that was normal for other people. And I was a bit afraid to tell anyone. So I did confide in one friend, and she just said, oh, that's your spirit guides. I'm supposed to already know that. And she tried to explain to me about different dimensions, which at the time I didn't know. It was like going right over my head. And I remember we had lunch one day and I was writing it down on a napkin. She said, think of it like a building, because I was in construction. And she said, it's different floors to a building, and each one is its own reality, its own dimension. And I'm like, huh? But eventually I got it. And eventually I realized that we could tap into not only our spirit guides, but I can actually tap into anyone and anything. People, animals, things like money that we wouldn't consider a living being.
You say
So
tap
it's
in. Can you explain that a little bit for our listeners? What do you
Yes,
mean tap
yes. So
in?
I didn't understand what it was. It was like, I knew it worked because eventually I had proof of it. I would find out different things and people would confirm that was in case true. But one night I was watching a show with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he was explaining about how when you get to different levels of calm, your brain waves change. And when you get to a certain brainwave, I think it's theta, it's like a giant Google, and you can ask anyone anything, and then the right person will answer if you don't know who to ask for. But I've used it to um, connect with famous people and find out how they discovered things. I've used it to connect with family members to figure out why they died, or I've done it for other people to help them so they can get some closure in their life. Maybe there's a deceased family member that they wanted to know some information about their family. Anyway, so when I had this spiritual awakening and I was seeing that I could talk to anything I wanted, I didn't even know I could do it. I had a friend that said, oh, I want you to come and talk to my horses and see if you get anything. And it was hilarious because the horse was telling me things like that this lady's husband would come and feed it treats. And the gist I got was like, he wasn't supposed to be doing that. And she said, yes, she knows, and he's not supposed to be giving the horse treats, but he's been doing it behind my back. And I was like, I didn't know the lady that well, and I certainly didn't even know her husband. So
Oh, did the
it
horse
was
want more
interesting.
treats or less treats?
No, he didn't talk about that. He was just tattling on the husband for giving him treats.
Yeah.
But the horse also had comments about somebody else's horse that was in the pen next to him. And that horse was making a big commotion. And he was talking about the other horse's personality and that he was jealous because I was talking to him and this other one was jumping around. And the other horse got so rambunctious that we were afraid it was going to jump out of the fenced area. So we took her horse and led it to a quieter place on the property. But it's been really interesting. So eventually I was told that I was going to be given 3 books to download and that it was important that I transcribe them and get them published for the masses to help with the raising the consciousness of humanity. And I was like, okay, whatever. And they said they would be waking me up in the middle of the night. So get ready. So I got ready. I got a nice binder and a bunch of pens and stuff. And sure enough, they started waking me up in the middle of the night to transcribe these words. And at first it was very difficult because I was, as you can imagine, because it's usually about 3 in the morning, between 2 and 4 in the morning. And they would wake me up and I write it down, and then I would be so sleepy and I would write a little bit and then I'd go back to bed. But then, and I really wouldn't think about what I had done, but what it says. And the next day I would get up first thing and go read what I wrote. And I thought, I'm going to do this because if it sounds really stupid, I'll just throw it away. So it was like, I tried to approach it like a child with being inquisitive and, oh, let's see what happens.
Right.
Sure enough, I started reading it and it was really good stuff, very basic, but things again that people are not doing and people are not following and living like this. And some of this stuff was quite surprising to me because they talked about why we are here and the purpose of being on earth and what's going to happen eventually. And some of that stuff I had never heard because I had pretty limited religious training. One of the things that they told me I'd never heard of, they said that at some point God was going to destroy the earth. And I was like, that's scary. People aren't
Right.
going to like that. But then after I'd done the book and stuff, I actually went to church and I talked to other people and they said that it was in the Bible that said that the God will destroy the earth. I'm like, okay, I guess people in the mainstream have heard of that, but I hadn't. Anyway, so the first volume has been published, and the book is called The New I Am Document, Volume 1, and that is available on Amazon, but it's also available on my spiritual website, which is called thenewIammovement.com.
Okay.
ThenewIammovement.com. And so Volume 1 is out there. Volume 2 was transcribed a year or so ago, and I need to get that published. And right now I'm transcribing volume 3.
Wow.
So I'm working on getting my mission done. And before I released volume 1, I thought people are going to think I'm wacko, like that I'm claiming that I have this book about why we're here and the first 100 lessons we are to learn. And they're going to wonder, how'd you go from that? Because when I knew her, like she was a contractor or a real estate broker, like that doesn't sound like her thing. So I wrote a short book called The Unimagined Awakening, and that is to explain the process I went through to wake up and be able to finally admit I had these capabilities because I kept it hidden. I
Right.
call it, I was like I came out of the spiritual closet
But
because it was a big
were
deal.
you afraid of it though? Did it freak you out?
No, it didn't freak me out that I had the capability. What freaked me out was telling other
Yeah,
people.
I can see
So
that.
I had to really grow as a person to get to that point where I don't give a blank about what other people think. I'm just going to live my authentic life. And if
I,
they don't want to be my friend, that's fine. Or
I love it.
if they don't you want anything to do with me, that's fine. And I don't feel any animosity towards people or feel bad or like I did something wrong. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And it's not my job I am not a used car salesman trying to stuff this down your throat and
Right.
get you to buy it.
Yep.
I'm
It's
just
not your job.
presenting it. And if it resonates with you, then fine. If it doesn't, fine. But there isn't anything bad or there's nothing bad in any of it. It's all stuff that is actually taught in other religions, and it's actually taught by other people, that it's more spiritual in nature. And even though the book generally talks about God, it just means God, the universe, spirit, all that is, whatever someone feels is their divine. It could be Allah, it could be anything, because I believe that there are many paths to God, or many paths to the divine,
Mhm.
and all people aren't alike. So people have different cultures and different religions, and they live in different parts of the world. So they all have their own way of connecting. And it's either what they're brought up with or what resonates with them. But there's so many people that aren't nowadays, there are so many people that are not regular church goers, and they just haven't found the thing that resonates with them. So that's what I love about this, because it works for anybody. If
Right.
you have a Christian background, it fits. If you have no religious background, it fits. And it really makes you stop and think. When I did the first 100 lessons, some of it was things I'd never heard of. And I was astonished that they were able to make a lesson about some of the words that they told me would be the name of the chapter. But it makes sense. And it's like peeling an onion. So that's just the first layer. And then when you read volume 2, it goes a little bit deeper. So you can gain more understanding. And then volume 3 is even deeper. Let me give you an idea, a suggestion. Some of the lessons, most of them have examples. One of the lessons was about a man who he stole a loaf of bread. And it tells you the backstory. The backstory is that his wife had died. He was heartbroken. He had a small child, and he lost his job through no fault of his own. And he and the child were starving. And all they had was like a little bit of peanut butter, but that's all they had. And he knew that wasn't going to be enough to keep them going. So he went and he stole a loaf of bread that was like outside the shop. It was like day old bread that really other people would buy it and give it to birds or something. But he figured if he took that, and he and the child could live a little bit long. So he did that. And so society looks at him like, and the shopkeeper, oh, he's a bad man. Look at him. He's a thief. So far, that sort of thing. But what we don't know is the rest of the story.
Right.
And so the lesson is to don't be so judgmental of other people, because you don't know what their situation is, and have some compassion for them, so forth, instead of judging them.
Right.
Another big point of the book is that judgment is reserved for God. And oh my gosh, that was such a revelation, because we are brought up in this culture where everybody is judging us from when we're a child until we're an adult. And then we learn, by being in this society, we learn to judge others. And knowing that judging others isn't our job, oh my
Right.
gosh, that frees up so much time and wasted brain power. Instead, we can focus on being the best we can be. What is it we can do to improve ourselves, instead of worrying about someone else? And also, then you can quit comparing yourself to other people. So some of these lessons can really be life changing.
And how has it
Anyway,
changed your life?
so keep looking on my websites, the new iammovement.com, because more books will be coming out,
Right.
or follow me on Amazon.
How
That
has
helps.
it changed your life?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's changed everything. It has made me realize that I truly can be and have anything I want. So that what's left is to decide, what do you want? I'll give you some examples. So the first thing was, I had already built my dream home, and we had lived in it about 6 years when my husband left. And I did not want to move again, because I was in my 60s and it was a lot of work to build a house, even just
Right.
overseeing the contractors while I was working my other jobs. And I knew I didn't have enough it in me to build another one. Plus, money was an issue. And we were like way in debt, because he hadn't been working and for over a year. So I did not want to lose my house. But we had so much debt, and then we were going to be splitting everything. How was that going to work? And one of the things I had to learn to do as part of our ascension or growth is to learn to trust God. And so there was times when there wasn't a whole lot of money and I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet, but I just kept searching for answers and at the beginning, a lot of it was me figuring out where I could go and borrow money or where
That's a
can I
big
save.
change.
Yeah, it's how I could save money and that kind of thing. But eventually the problems with money or the challenges with money got bigger and bigger. I remember one time I got an IRS audit, and by then I had advanced enough that I remained calm, so I didn't yell at my CPA. But they actually house and did an audit. I had to show them everything, and I had somebody working for me show, where she worked and where the files were. But that wasn't what they were concerned. There was some other error in the reporting, and I wasn't aware of it. So the main thing is that I ended up owing $100,000. And I was
Oh,
so calm. And the old Janie would have said, "Oh, I owe 2 grand. Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" I would have been going nuts. And it wasn't like I had 100 grand or even that much that I could charge on a credit card or anything.
right. That's a
And but I remained calm so I could really feel how I changed. And I didn't scream at my CPA. I just kept saying, "How did this happen? And what can I do so this doesn't happen again?" And it was very interesting. They don't give you a bill and say you have to pay in a week. So there was delays and we were rechecking. And so different things happened, different things occurred. And it ended up that I did have the money when as each payment need to be paid and so forth. And it really did work out. But that was a real test to me.
oh yeah.
The other thing is I reach out a lot more to do things that I might not have done before, like paying for someone to do a movie trailer or paying for someone to write a movie script. Another big one was when I was 65, about 2 years before, I joined a women's boot camp and I was getting in shape and everything, and they were teaching us to jog. And one of my friends was on a master's running team or running club, which just means it's for people over 50. And most of the people were like 50 to 60, but I was like over 60. And of course, they could run a lot faster than me because they ran in high school or college or something. And here I'd only been like jogging for a short time. And so I joined this running club, and oh my gosh, they talked me into going to meets. And I didn't really want to do this. I was actually doing it because I didn't have any friends. And so at least if I went there, I had friends, right? And so they ended up talking me into going to nationals. So you have to compete in other meets and qualify. Not that you have to have a super fast speed, but
For
you have
you.
to qualify. And I went to nationals. So when I was 65 years old, I competed nationally and I got in the top 10 in 2 track and field events.
Ah,
And oh my God, it was a lot of work and I don't want to do it again. But it was,
bucket list.
but
Check,
I
check.
did it. And so that was like, you have to think back when I entered junior high, they put me in special ed PE because I could not touch my toes. So,
Come a
so
long
it was
way.
like giving them the finger and saying, "See, I'm not really that lame."
There you go.
But it doesn't mean that I want to do that my whole life. It just means I did it and I accomplished it. And I proved to myself and others, I think that you can do anything you set your mind to. It's
That
just
I love.
that's it's and also I have a little saying for Janie J folks is that it's never too late to start living your best life. Because if I didn't even start until I was 60, before that, it was taking care of everybody else and doing what society says I should. And I feel like I gave that my best shot, and that didn't work for me. So I would encourage younger people, if it ain't working for you, change it as soon as you figure it out,
We've had
because
this
then you get,
discussion here a lot. That's
yeah,
my message because I've been everything.
yes.
I frequently change it up because it's exciting. It's boring to be the same.
So I ended up retiring from real estate, and now I write books, and I'm on my ranch and my little ranch, and now I have 14 sheep and 14 chickens and a couple dogs, and I
Love it.
really like it. I get to be outside, and finally I figured I had enough room for a boyfriend, so I have a boyfriend that stays with me.
Go girl.
So it's everything's great, and we travel a lot because that was a really big thing. In fact, I remember one time a few years ago when I decided I was going to travel and I wanted to go to an event that was held in Croatia, and it was going to be 3 or 4 weeks long. And you have to apply. So I applied and I just assumed I was going to get in, even though that most of the people that go are a lot younger. And I didn't have any way to pay. And I just figured out it's probably going to cost about this much. So I sold my tractor, I sold my farm implements, and I sold some other stuff that I didn't really use. And I was tired of paying to get repaired all the time. So I sold all this stuff. And then I got the price. After I got accepted, I got the price. And I was still short about $2,000. And I didn't fret and I didn't say, oh, I'm not going to go now and blah, blah, blah. I just said, no, it'll work out. And a week or two later, I got a refund check from Costco
Your
for
card.
buying stuff. And yeah, and it was like, that was the same amount. So that's how stuff works. It's you got to set your
Isn't that
intention that you
fun?
want it, and then the universe will bring it to you. And if you spend time worrying and being fearful, you'll just get more things to worry and be fearful about. So
Absolutely.
it's a way better way to live. So I'm much happier. And I am very thankful that my former husband left, because he did the thing I wouldn't do, because I never quit, and I would have just stayed miserable. And the best thing he gave me was my freedom, so I could go live the life I want. And he can go live whatever kind of life he wants.
But I'm so proud of you because you took something that could have really derailed your life and you made it into a great success. That's amazing.
And when I hear women say, oh, my husband died, or he left me, or blah, 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 and now my life is ruined, it's no, it's not. It's a great chance for a do-over. Now you get to pick. And it's a lot easier to decide things when you don't have to run it by anybody else. If you want to eat this for dinner or that for dinner, or where you want to go on vacation, or if you want to clean the house up, or you want to veg out and watch TV, whatever, you get to pick. And just having the choice is a really big thing for a lot of women, instead of doing all the shoulds. I should do this, I should do that. That burden gets so heavy. After a while, you just feel like you're drowning. So yeah, I'm really glad I got out of that paradigm. This is a lot better way to live. So
Well,
I'm looking forward to the next 25 or so years.
I
Figure out
love
to be done with the books by then.
now you're doing great. Look how far you've come. It's amazing.
Right.
It's amazing. And how long has it been? So from the point that your husband left until now.
So he left, I was 60, but it was a few months before I turned 61, and now I'm 71. So it's been a little
Wow.
over 10 years.
First of all,
Yeah.
you look 71, you look gorgeous. And
Thank you.
secondly, what a huge transformation. Well done, sister. All right, you're going to send me the links for your book so I can put them in the show notes and all of our listeners can get them because everybody needs to be inspired. And thank you
Right.
so much for sharing your story. It is so filled with hope and I just love how you look at life. And I really appreciate you coming on today.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope your viewers will check me out.
I bet they will. I bet they will. Is there anything you'd like to leave them with?
I would say if you are apprehensive about this spiritual stuff, I would say, or you think I'm teaching or flaunting something that's like too woo-woo, I would invite you to go to YouTube, besides, of course, the websites. But I have a YouTube station called Janie J Soul Connector, and there's over 100 videos, and a lot of it is snippets out of the books that I've downloaded. And some are stories and lessons and blogs and poems. So you'll start to see that it's lighthearted. It's something anybody can relate to.
Great. I'm going to go there and subscribe. Thank you for that.
Thank you. All right.
Well,
Bye-bye.
thanks again, it was lovely talking to you, and we'll catch up again soon.